In chapter 2, we're going to write about your family, and I've said other strange animals because sometimes our family do feel like strange creatures. Now, before you start writing about your family, you need to think about what's going to happen when you do write about them. Now, let's say you're going to write about a family member. Well, how are they going to react to what you have written? Now, remember, we talk about truth and we have our truth, their truth, and then the actual truth, because it's always about our experience and our perspective. And, this question comes up a lot for me, when I'm working with my clients is, should I tell the truth? Now, I believe there are ways of telling the truth that can keep you on the right side of people and can keep you out of legal issues. So I guess one of the questions is should you write in a way that is less controversial? And only you know the answer to this. And I really do invite you to explore about, if you write the raw, ugly truth about something, what is going to happen? What will be the consequences? Can you prove the truth? Can you prove your side of the story? Do you have evidence? So, I think it's worth reflecting on this point before you go full out and write it. Now, one of the things I do recommend is you do write the raw, ugly truth and you sleep on it and then you edit it. And I think, it's about writing very compassionately and honestly. You can do the two things, and it's reflecting on that, on your purpose, asking, what is your approach to how you write honestly and with compassion about these people who are your family members? And it's understanding the facts of the story. So you have the facts and how you write it, and then how you think they're going to react. And I think one of the things you could explore in your journal is to write the story out and then maybe look at it from their perspective and just think about that reaction. Is it what you want to have happen? Now, I always strive to write with compassion. I don't start writing like that. I do start writing quite ugly things. But I always come back and say, well, what did I learn about that? What are the gifts? What are the lessons that I've learned? And I always look at people and say, well, they're people themselves. Let's say we're writing about our parents and you want to write something about something that your parent has done or you perceive that they have done. We have to remember that they're people too, and they've had stuff done to them. And it's about looking at their life through a very different lens. When I was younger, I viewed my family, my parents, in a very different way. As I've grown older and I spend a lot more time with my mum, and I've heard her stories, and when I talk about stuff in my life and then she shares a parallel story, and I realise that her childhood was pretty awful. It wasn't lovely. She had some horrible things done to her, and until I started talking with her, I didn't know that. So I now see my mum's life through a very different lens, and I understand a lot more. Now, if I didn't take the time out to do that and to be compassionate and to understand her perspective and to think that she is a person in her own right, and these life events have informed who she is and how she's done stuff, I could write a very, very flawed memoir. Now, I'm still going to write it from my perspective, but I am going to be a lot more compassionate. We are all flawed. None of us are perfect, but we're all equally fantastic people, and we are incredibly unique in our own beauty. Telling the truth, please, whatever you do, stay on the side of the law. If the truth is, if you can't evidence the truth and you are going to libel yourself, then, what purpose does it serve? And the question I have to ask is this really the truth? Now, in some, and in many circumstances, the truth is ugly and the truth is the truth. But we have to be careful about how we write it, and I think it's about questioning that truth and being absolutely clear. You know, our memories, we think our memories are good. I know when I wrote my Healing Osteoporosis book, I was writing a load of stuff and I went back to my journal, and even just in a year, space of a year, I'd mixed stuff up. I mean, luckily I had my journal and I could go back to it. But it's easy to get confused. So really think about how you're going to tell the truth and if it really is the truth. So, you know, when I write about the truth of who I am, generally we only share the stuff that we want other people to know. There's some things that we don't want to share, and we do bend the truth over time because our memories are faulty. And as I've said many times, there are three kinds of truth. There's yours, there's theirs, and then there is the absolute naked truth. You know, you often see things on the TV where they film something, and then, you know, you think perhaps the person that's leaning over the old lady is the perpetrator of the crime, when actually the criminal is running away and they are helping. It's all about perspective. So, you know, our truth is only really known to us, but we really do have to be careful about how we share it and what we share. So have a think about, here's the truth as I'm going to tell it. Do I want to share all of this? Or actually, do I just want to share this portion of the story because that has the most impact? It lends itself best to the story. So let's consider this again. You know, what purpose does it serve to dish raw sewerage? You know, how can you write the truth so that you get to say what you want to say, so that people can kind of read between the lines? You know, I did this with my ex-husband when I wrote about him. I started off writing the real ugly truth, and then I wrote it in such a way that he couldn't actually do anything about it. You know, I do have evidence of his behaviour and the things that he did. I don't want to share it, but I want to get across how I felt about things that I discovered. And really, is my opinion, does it have any relevance? And, you know, when I review my writing, I always look back and I say, well, you know, how can I write this well without actually really dishing too much dirt? Now, of course, this does depend on what you're writing about, but I think it's about writing eloquently and elegantly and getting the story over from your perspective. And I do believe, you know, there's words can be beautiful, and we can use them in such a way that, you know, we can share whatever it is so that the reader absolutely understands. So here is an example. You know, when I talk about my ex-husband, I found some stuff that was not very pleasant. I discovered he'd been living a double life for the entire relationship. But I've probably edited it from this, but let me just read this out. As I skimmed their secret life, not only was I mad as hell, it dawned on me that no wonder he didn't have time for me. He was getting his rocks off elsewhere. On full display, their naked betrayal. I felt sick and alone. And as I dug deeper, I found that throughout our 5-year relationship, he had been getting off with other women via Facebook and several other interesting dating sites that I never knew existed. What an education I received. I can tell you, when I discovered lots of stuff, I was pretty angry. And that's what I wrote to start off with. And this is one iteration of what I got to. And I don't think that you really need to know the gory details. You just need to know that I felt sick with betrayal. Also, stay out of what he said, she said. Again, you know, if I wanted to look back over any story, and in particular my journey to self-love, you know, I could get into a battle with my ex-husband, for example. But we'd end up going, no, that's not happened. No, 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 this is what's happened. And I really don't think we need that. I think we need to stick to identifiable facts. You don't want to get prosecuted. So the facts matter. So you can write your story. And then what I would like you to do, invite you to do, is to actually write the facts. And when you do that, the things that you can prove, then you need to consider, do you include them or not? But please, stay out of he said, she said.